Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chess.com Global Championship. It's day number 2. Let me take you through the format real quick. It's 8 players. They are playing a knockout system where it's a best of 8 in rapid chess. So first person to 4.5. If it's tied 4-4, you play an Armageddon game. Now, it's 15 minutes per player with a 2-second bonus. By the way, I just got finished with the commentary. If you were watching it live, I love you. You're great. Thanks so much for supporting the outfit a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I was posting today on Twitter. This is one of my favorite shirts. This is one of my favorite suits. In fact, it might be my favorite suit. And, I'm getting started with the quarterfinals, but I'll be wearing it in the semis and so on. So, quick reminder. Hikaru's up 4-0. 4-0. You literally could not have a bigger advantage. But he goes to lose the next 2 games. So the first 2 games of day 2, Duda won. And this is game number 3. All right, if Duda wins this game, it is now a 1-point match. Can Duda continue in this fashion and pull off one of the most spectacular comebacks in chess? Hikaru looking to put an end to it, and Hikaru plays the Alpine Sicilian, a very solid line, right? He plays e5, knight d5, d4, and this variation with bishop to c4, forcing black backwards. With the move knight b6, bishop b5, and bishop g5. My forward key is like being, it doesn't want to make moves for me. Now, from the early onset of the game, it was a very, very pleasant position for white. And Jan Krzysztof left his king in the center of the board and just started firing. I mean h6, I mean f5. And it looked like he was just going to go here and do this. And now it's up to Hikaru. Hikaru plays the move d5. Sacrificing a pawn in the center of the board, we have an exchange, and the move bishop back to c2. Look at this. I mean, Duda is playing like a man possessed, like he's got to win the game at all costs. He got g4. Hikaru gives away the pawn on h2 with a check. The king slides over to h1, and life right now looks pretty good for black, but it's actually not, because when everything is said and done, there is only one man who is actually attacking the other, and it's Hikaru. Queen a4, queen a6. The queen is getting in anytime she wants. Remember, a draw wins the match for Hikaru, as it's 4-2. Duda does his very best, but Hikaru, 2 rooks down the center line of the board, and the black king just getting hunted, standing on its home square. Beautiful move. Queen c6 hits this. Rook hangs as well, and queen takes b8. Few moves later, Hikaru took the pawn on d5, trades down. Duda gets a couple of checks. Hikaru blocks. And he is our first semi-finalist, clinching a prize of minimum $50,000. Semi-finals both get $50K. If you make it to the finals, you get $100,000 or $200,000. Now, it was scary today. I'm not going to lie. Hikaru was down 4-0. Wrong way. Hikaru was up 4-0. And he allowed Duda, he didn't allow him, Duda won 2 games. And that goes to show, why on earth did Duda play a bomb cloud yesterday? I mean, imagine if Duda wins game 4. I mean, I'm not saying he would show up and win games 5 and 6, but it literally could have been tied. He could have been down 1 point. Right? I mean, instead, seven decisive games between Hikaru and Duda. Guess that's what happens when you play a Polish fighter. Hikaru is our first semi-finalist, and he will await the winner between Wesley So and Fair Chess on YouTube, which is his legal name. No, it's Dmitry Andreikin. Now, Dmitry Andreikin and Wesley So got off to a very rocky start yesterday as they both blundered all sorts of crazy stuff. And by the way, Wesley had a really tough time with Dmitry Sicilian of e4, c5 yesterday, so he goes to d4 and plays a Queen's Gambit. Just a very traditional Queen's Gambit. Now, Andreikin has a couple options. He can continue to play crazy stuff just overall with black, with white, doesn't really matter, and try to play for a win regardless. My God, I have a giant head. Like I always knew that, but I just pulled up like my streaming software just to see that everything was good, and oh my God, my head is like the whole frame. My God, my head looks like a pineapple. Anyway, it's good to be self-aware. Anyway, yeah, it's like one of the things you guys tease me about. Listen, I'm balding, and I'm gonna look like a real pineapple soon, just cut off the top, like an egghead. I think these games are gonna age me. Now, real quick, Dmitry Andreikin plays the Skara, the von Henning Skara Gambit here, where he takes on d5. Wesley takes on d5, and then c takes d4, and you can take on d4 right away, but this check kind of messes up Black's coordination. And yeah, Wesley's just the pawn up. So I'm now going to proceed to hit the forward button. What Black gets in this position is activity. So you'll notice Black is very active. All the pieces are out and about, castled quickly. Probably both rooks going to get to the center. Yeah, and White just has an extra pawn. And Andreikin plays very aggressively, sacrificing material to hunt Wesley's king in the center of the board. Wesley just says, dude, I don't... Look at this. Queen f4. Queen f4. Like, the computer here wanted Wesley a couple of moves ago, maybe after queen takes e3. There might have been something better. Yeah, Wesley had to play king f1 with, I guess, rook e1 ideas. If g4, just knight h4. Wesley doesn't do that. Wesley literally takes absolutely no risk and is like, all right, I'm just going to play this endgame. It's like depressing. I mean, you're trying to get this guy to have some fun. He just won't do it. He just plays this position. And, you know, maybe computer can hold this with Black because Black is only down one pawn and White's pawns are doubled. Yeah, Wesley puts on his, you know, Halloween past, but he puts on his Magnus costume and just squeezes the juice, goes and wins the pawns, and he has an awful pawn structure, make no mistake, but he's completely winning. 2 pawns up in the endgame. His king is going to cross the center line and very happily escort the b pawn up the board, and Dmitry Andreikin resigns, and he was unable to win the next game. And yeah, Wesley and Hikaru made their matchups look easy. I mean, the Hikaru matchup was tense today for sure, but these guys are your first 2 semifinalists, winning matches in 7 and 6 games respectively. So just very dominant, and the reward is they have to play each other. Terrific. I almost wish Wesley was on the other side of the bracket, but they've played in the Speed Chess Championship before. They played many times. I think they flew here from Iceland. Like, I don't have any confirmation of that. I didn't pick them up at the airport, although they absolutely should have enlisted my services. It would have made for a great vlog. In any case, I don't think they're going to be working together considering they have to play each other, but very exciting stuff there, your first 2 semifinals. Don't go anywhere. I know you might be here for Hikaru. Oh, Hikaru made it great. No. You're about to witness some tomfoolery. I commentated these next 2 games, these next 2 matches. So, this is the matchup. Nihal, Sarin, and Sam Sevian. Now, yesterday Sevian jumped out to a 1-game lead. It was very close to being a 2-game lead. If you just got here, Sevian's up 2.5, 1.5. Today is the continuation of their match, and it was so close yesterday, and Sarin defended a really unpleasant position. That's his best skill. He's the best defender in the tournament, not named Hikaru Nakamura. I'm ready to say it. I don't care how young of a player he is. This is how we're going to get started in day 2. We have dc4, e4, and this very tricky line by Sarin, b5. All right, Black is very ready to give away this, and even this, as long as you get this back. Now, Sevian here plays e5. It's the best move. Plays knight takes b5, and this double bishop setup with knight coming back to c3 voluntarily and basically arguing, yo, you got a stupid thing over here. Nihal defenses. Queenside pawn, that's sort of the point of Black's position. Plays this, and now queen d7. And Sevian could have castled, but instead indicates that, yeah, if you castle, I'm going to destroy you. I have rook h3, rook g3, and I also have knight to g5, and then h5, and I'm just blowing you off the board. I don't know why you would have ever castled into this. So Sarin just says, okay, I'm going to keep my king in the center and close the center, which just looks absurd. And then I'm going to go grab your bishop. So I'm going to grab the bishop, then I'm going to bring my knight back to attack the piece, and now Sarin plays one of the most absurd, anti-positional, and shocking moves I've ever seen in my life. It's the best move. Gives away his light-squared bishop, and then freezes White's pawns by playing h5, by playing g6. This is so savage. And suddenly, despite Sevian having a big advantage, according to the computer, position's not easy. All right, it's not easy, and Black just walks his king. Both guys not castling. a5 by Sevian, preventing expansion. Sorry, I keep mixing their names up. They're similar. Start with S, end at N. The move b4 here is now prevented, and suddenly Sarin is just relaxed. Right now, Sevian doesn't like that very much because he doesn't want to get blockaded with knight d5 and c6. So what does he do? He sacrifices his center pawn. Literally just gives it away, and then says, well, the good news for me is I'm going to take on g6. I got my pawn back. I split this. This attacks this attacks this, and you know, queen c7. Life is good. But actually, that capture on g6, which looked very natural, opens up another avalanche. And Nihal Sarin has a great position. He takes on b2. And here Sevian can just trade queens and maybe play for a draw. But Sevian gets a little risky Suddenly comes rook d8. Look at black's rooks, and black's king is completely safe. You know who's not safe? The white king. Sevian, again, can try to play a move like queen c2 and trade, but he tries to rush the exchanges. And all of a sudden, you have this, and Sevian misses. Queen b5 check. Found. Check. King hunted into the middle. The bishop is won. Sam Sevian just lost the game to Nihal Sarin, and Sarin is back. It is extremely close, and Sarin went on to win the next game as well. So now Sarin goes from 1 down to 1 up. The game that I'm about to show you is game number 7. Sam Sevian once again has the white pieces, and this time he plays the same setup, but Sarin plays h6. This very interesting way of playing the Queen's Gambit Decline, been very popular recently. Sevian's not letting him have any fun. He's just developing his pieces. Look at this. Absolutely no nonsense approach here from Sevian. Rook c1, rook c2, going to double up over there, maybe rotate the queen. And now he reroutes his knight to this side of the board. And from this position, it was all Sam Sevian. Wow, I am tired. I just talked like nonstop for 2.5 hours, and I'm sitting here doing this recap. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I am exhausted. Like a giant wave of exhaustion just hit me. And I think I have a sore throat, which is not a good thing. So I'm going to go drink some tea, rehydrate, and probably eat some lunch or dinner. And I'm still here. Literally, the game's ended 5-6 minutes ago, like minus the recap time. So just hopefully you appreciate it. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. It's all Sam Sevian. Puts his knight in the center. Look at his pieces. Convention of horses here. E6, F6, F5, E5. Beautiful stuff. And now Queen E1, and bad things are coming. Queen G3. Sam Sevian is about to strike back, and he's gonna take this game. There's absolutely nothing that can be done. He avoids even taking back in the center, and that's it. Knight takes H6, and Knight F7 are mate. That is checkmate. You don't just lose the queen. It's just checkmate. Nihal Sarin only move G5. That is not a move you want to play. Your center has now been locked. And white is going to play knight h6 or h4. The game is simply over. Nihal plays once again the only defensive move, bishop to c8. Here comes the knight to c6. Here comes the knight counterattacking the queen on h5. Once again, the only move. Now, the eval is +5. But it's not +5 if you don't exactly know how to win the position, right? Sevian, once again, tough decision. He takes on h5. He gives this up. He has the option here to go here. But if he does that, black is going to take the knight. And white is still going to be better, but white is like, why am I not winning? Okay, if I get to this position, I literally, like, I used to be way more winning than I was. You still are winning, you just don't know it's +3. You don't see a checkmate. Naturally, your brain is hardwired to look for checkmates in this position. And he plays the move h4, which actually is the best move, but only if you play knight takes h6 check. You give away a full bishop. You go here, threatening this, threatening this, threatening this. The only move here for black is to play the move queen h7, and after this, white would play the move queen takes d5 and be up 2 pawns in an endgame and cruising. Not just that, you got like various other very powerful ideas here if you're able to land them. So the game is just over. Sam Sevian plays h takes g5. And suddenly, look at the eval. It's equal. Nihal Sarin, I told you, is one of the most creative defensive players in this tournament. Like, if Hikaru wasn't here, he would be the best. I mean, his defensive capabilities are spectacular. He is so tricky. And that's it. That's actually just straight up it. The amount of times, and they repeated moves a few moves later by perpetual check, the amount of times in this match that Sarin saved speculative and straight up losing positions was unbelievable. He saved one yesterday in game 4. He saved this one, and he would go on to save the next one, and he would win this match against Sevian 4.5 to 3.5. The closest, just simply the closest match that we've had yet. Until the one that I'm about to show you. So, good thing you had the patience to watch 14 minutes in the recap. Are you ready? We're going to end this in about 10-12 minutes. Here we go. Teimour, Radjabov, Anish, Giri. Yesterday, Anish took a 1-game lead. So, with the white pieces, I predicted Radjabov would play e5 in game 5. But I did not predict that Radjabov would play a6, h6, and then knight g4, okay, and then rotate his other knight around, and then put his knight on f4, which you're about to see. All right, it's coming. Don't worry. Promise. Gonna put his knight on f4 right here, and then he's gonna play g5. So he plays a very solid opening, which he then basically says, look, I have to try to win at all costs. He doesn't have to win at all costs. He doesn't have to. And Anish just plays a spectacular game of chess. He trades in the center. He trades the bishops, and he just puts his knight on f5, and he's like, you attacking me on this side? Really? Queen d7, queen e3 hits the rook, b5 locks out the bishop, and yeah, just rook d1. I mean, Anish just has, look at this position. Everything in Anish's position is firing. Takes on f7, takes on e8, bishop d7. Everything falls down. Queen e4, beautiful final move. Knight e4, bishop f5, the rook gets to d8, black resigns. Anish Giri just absolutely demolished Teimour Radjabov. He has a 3.5 to 1.5 game lead. That's it. The match is over, right? All right, been a nice recap, guys. I'll see you for the semifinals. Get out of here. Is what I would say if the match ended there. Now, it's best of the first 4.5, right? Teimour Radjabov in the next game plays the Magnus Carlsen Hans Niemann opening. Yeah, by the way, seriously, this was the same concept, just in a slightly different move order. This is the famous Magnus Hans situation. There's g3 Nimso, g3 Rosen, and Teimour essentially just gives away the pawn on c4, right? Just gives it away, and then does nothing about it. He just plays e4, just focuses wholeheartedly and completely on the center. He does not want the pawn back. Doesn't want the pawn back. Just look at, I mean, you will never win the pawn back. Black has an impenetrable situation there. And yet, White is doing very well. Why is White doing very well? Well, White's going to play queen d2, then White is going to play rook d1, and h4, and probably just get a position. Now, here there's the move knight a5. And you can even play knight b3. I will allow the knight to arrive on b3. And believe it or not, it's actually not even that great there. Like, it doesn't really have a role in the game. It pressures d4, but White is always going to march forward at some point anyway. So Anish instead tries to clarify things in the center with the move e5. We have a trade of pawns. But this happens anyway, and Anish tries to hold it down like this, and walks directly into knight takes f7. Bishop b8. This move counterattacks the rook. I'm assuming this is what Anish thought he had here. Bishop just comes back, and when all is said and done, White is no longer down a pawn. White has 4 on 2, which is very mobile, and White has the light squared bishop ready to come alive. And Teimour took it down into an endgame, had a very active rook, forced Anish's pieces back, and just went to work. The knight, the rook, the bishop. Look at them standing hand in hand together. White's king completely safe, and the hunting begins. Look how many pawns are falling in Anish's position, and let's not forget, that king is super weak. Checkmate threats. All right, rook h8 is literally made on board. We have this. The pawn is now going to try to sneak through. Anish does create some counterplay there with the c-pawn, but it's stopped. And just so you are aware, rook e1 would have absolutely made a queen. You are seeing that correctly. But after rook takes, and f7, the white pawn actually just queens, because there's no way to stop it. Anish did his best, but his best was not good enough. We go to a rook endgame, and the computer there, for a moment, by the way, is showing that it's equal. That's because it was. That's because it was. There was a win missed here by Teimour with the same idea associated, f7, f8, right? I told you, there's a lot of plot twists in this match. Look at this. Rook takes c2. Now, I don't know if he mouse-lived rook c3. I don't exactly know what happened there. I don't think he mouse-lived, because I think his logic was, if I play rook c5, then I walk into an attack anyway. So I don't think he mouse-lived rook c3. I think he just was trying to bring the rook back and win the rook endgame. And it's still, I mean, just so you understand, it's still a very tricky rook endgame. Computer is, of course, showing that it's equal. But as you're about to find out, it's anything but equal. And the king walks up, and the black king is cut off very far, so it's still very tricky to defend. King is simply too far away. White defends the a-pawn, white pushes. And, you know, the computer showed that it was zeros, or at least it was drawable. I want to stay away from saying that Anish could have drawn that game with 5 seconds on the clock. It's, again, nowadays, with us watching with Stockfish, you go, oh my god, he's so crazy. But what you're about to see in the next game is just unbelievable. So now it's Teimour fighting back. It's a one-game match, right? Look at this game. We're going to pick this game up around move 27. All right, we're not even going to look at the opening. The opening was bad. Teimour has to try to win with the black pieces. And look at this position that he built up, okay? Teimour built up a position where he was up in exchange and where White's position was just absolutely disintegrating. Rook was going to take on c2. White is a few moves away from mate. I mean, the move rook to c1 is literally the threat of mate. You will sack the queen, and then at the end you will have back rank mate. So queen back to e1. I mean, this is misery. I mean, Teimour is just an absolute boss for this. Like, the move f4 is always going to be good here. After bishop f4, you have queen f5 ideas. You have a4, a3, just putting away that white king in the corner of the board. Just putting it out of his misery so he doesn't have to suffer. The only thing that Anish has here is hopes of a blunder. Queen to e6, bishop back to b7, a queen trade, and the position is rapidly falling apart for white. That's it. Teimour is putting it away. Now, in this position, black can play rook f5, black can play rook c5. For example, rook c5, bishop d4 does look very nice, but rook d2 would be a cold shower. What a horrible move. Look at this. You cannot take either rook. You take this rook, you get mated. You take this rook, you get mated. You take no rook, I take your bishop with my rook on the next move. So, I mean, it's horrible position. Then here Teimour completely loses his mind and plays a little tactic to try to win back material and blunders a draw. It's now a draw. This is a fortress. Anish Giri has built a fortress. It's a dead draw for the second time, but this is not the same draw that we saw here. This rook endgame is plenty tricky. This game is over. Anish just has to play here, 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 here. Just has to not put his rook on one of these two squares. That's it. That's it. That's all he has to do. Rook d1, and the shuffling begins. Rook b1. All right, rook b1, king b5, rook f1, king c4, rook d1. I mean, it's a draw. It doesn't matter. None of this. There's nothing there. All right, now, you do have to be careful. Okay, if the king gets to b3 in time, there might be some ways to lose. So one idea that you can have when the king gets here is to give a check. And the point is that if king to d3 is played, you give a check and force the rook away. And if black goes this way, black literally hangs mate in one. Anish Giri does not do that, and in a panic plays rook d4 and hangs check here, loses the bishop in one move! Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, it's now a tied match. And after drawing the next game, these guys went to Armageddon. Anish Giri in the Armageddon game to play black bid 13 minutes and 1 second. So he basically would be fine playing the black pieces as long as he started with 13 minutes. But he was ready to play white if Teimour bet less. Teimour bet 14:30. Teimour really wanted white. So Anish Giri gets black. Teimour gets white. Teimour has 15 minutes. Anish has 13:01. If black draws this game, black wins the match. Teimour plays. Now here I was shocked he did not play for a Catalan. Instead goes for a Torre attack. We get a King's Indian style position. An early trade in the center of the board. And queen exchange offered, queen exchange denied. Anish striking in the center. Teimour castles, both sides castles. Now a great move, knight h5. Preventing the bishop from going back to g3 where it will be taken, damaging the white structure. And then Anish did something crazy. He didn't take the bishop. Here Anish can play the move knight g3, permanently ruining the white position, but I think he was afraid of various happenings on the f-file, so he actually let the bishop go and opted instead to plant the knight on f4 and say, you have to take me. We are trading the knight for the bishop on my terms. And then ef4 and also gf4 would both be acceptable ways of recapturing. Let's not forget, Anish Giri does not have to take any risks. Pawn structure was clarified. Anish finished his development and prevented any knight from infiltrating his position. They traded one more set of pawns, and we got the following position. And you know what Anish Giri noticed here? That he's a Chad. Knight d4. We trade knights. How does white make any progress? White is playing the game without a bishop, and if white takes on f4 right now, which he's had a chance to do, white doesn't actually do himself any favors. Radjabov started realizing this and started dancing around with the knight. Like, what does he do? Anish, there's nothing. What does he do? Finally, Radjabov took on f4 and went for this cute trick, where if pawn takes f4, there is rook takes e7. Wow, Radjabov won a pawn. But just bishop b2? Not only did Radjabov not win a pawn, he's gotten himself into a worse endgame, because these pieces are just ripe for the attacking, and two bishops are going to always be better in the endgame. Radjabov goes bishop c4, looking for various things on f7, and Anish just welcomes him into the position with this absolutely savage move, king to f8. The bishop hits the bishop, and there is a threat of check with bishop hitting the rook. Oh my goodness. Bishop g6. And Teimour can play on, but immediately runs headfirst into f3 check, which ends the game because after g3, you take the knight, you hit him with discovered attack, you win back the rook, and the game is over. Anish Giri not just draws an Armageddon, he wins the Armageddon, and he advances to the semifinal, locking up $50,000. It's Nihal Sarin versus Anish Giri beginning tomorrow. It's Wesley So versus Hikaru Nakamura. This is the Chess.com Global Championship recaps. Quarterfinals are over. Thank you all so much for the support today on the live stream. Thanks so much for the positive comments on the outfit. I will see you all tomorrow for semifinals, day 1.